This webinar is being attended by a total of 730 participants composed of the school heads of Northern Samar, Calbayog City, and Catbalogan City divisions. At this point, let us hear the message of our Regional Director, Dr. Ramir B. Oitico, says so for.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on managing distance learning. And these are the school heads of Northern Samar, Calbayog, and Catbalogan City divisions. And I understand, Chud, there are participants still from Leyte division who had difficulty in getting access this morning. So they have decided to have it sa Facebook natin, and that they are now saying that they have already participated, they have logged in already. So again, Northern Samar, Calbayog City, and Catbalogan City, plus Leyte divisions participants. So we have Leyte division should participating today. Now, I would like to, just before the main discussion of the managing distance learning, I would like to present some slides so you could really understand the general picture of the modality that DepEd Region 8 will adopt. Chud, can you share some of my slides, please?
Ma'am Nova, please present the slides now. All right.
Okay, I just would like to share to you snippets of the learning continuity plan implementation of the region so that at least you can have the idea, especially so that we have, as far as Northern Samar, we have participants coming from Calbayog and Catbalogan City, and maybe you could have you could take pictures of some of my presentations so that at least you can share this to your teachers. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, this is how we understand about distance learning modality. So modules, the modular approach should be the primary modality. We understand that modules should be MELC-based, be assured, and that if not all modules will be printed, it will be digitized, meaning you can have it in your flash drive, or you can request your teachers to have it in a flash drive or in the principal drives to be distributed to your teachers. And having radio-based instruction, TV-based instruction, and online learning and fortify the use of the modules. But because as of now, the radio-based instruction and TV-based instruction would not be possible in all the divisions of Region 8, especially online learning, because of our inadequacies. I have thought of having the contextualized implementation of the learning, distance learning modality. Next slide, please. Should. Next slide, go to that adapted distance learning approach.
Next slide, Ma'am Nova. Okay. One
Next
more.
slide. I have given you, Chud, my presentation.
Dr. Jorge, sir, is the one manipulating it.
Yeah, this was not the one given by Leo. Distance learning modality adopted in Region 8. So I'd like to request you to have a picture taking, no, of this one, no, take pictures, because it is the adopted distance learning modality of Region 8. So still primary modality, you have the modules, and that the modules are MELC-based, quality assured, and if budget will not allow us to have all these modules printed, we can have it digitized. Maybe teachers can just save all these in their laptops and do something with these. And of course, we have activity sheets, worksheets, and ebooks that would support our modules, and the simplified MELC-based budget of lessons, which our principals have already requested their teachers to prepare. And we also have the textbooks. I understand that our schools have existing textbooks. So all you have to do is the teachers will get hold of the textbooks and other learning materials, and all they have to do is to match them with the most essential learning competencies. And all these will support our modular approach. And in case our modules will not be available on August 24, 2020 because of other challenges, I already issued memorandum, show it, no, I already issued a regional memorandum specifying its regional memorandum 321. And I hope all school heads in attendance have already a copy uh, of this original memorandum. It is entitled Preparation and Submission of the Simplified Most Essential Learning Competencies Based Weekly Budget of Lessons Across the Levels. And in this memorandum, it has been emphasized that while awaiting the availability of the modules, our teachers will just use the budget of lessons. Next page, no? And that the teachers will also prepare, number 3 of the memorandum, learners' activity sheets, which are anchored on the daily lessons while implementing the distance learning modality. So I will emphasize that while awaiting the arrival or the availability of the modules, our teachers will just prepare budget of lessons with activity sheets and other learner support materials. And it is the duty of the principals to check the activity sheets, to check the budget of lessons, which are anchored on the most essential learning competencies. And the district supervisors, the division education program supervisors are instructed to prepare MELC-based support learning materials, such as mga printed audio, video materials. I was once a principal like you, so I was very supportive to my teachers. Like if there was an English teacher, tapos yung lesson niya on poetry, I used to look for poems. I used to look for related activities to support the teachers. Hindi natin pwedeng hayaan lang yung mga teachers na sila yung nagkapakapa lang dyan at ang principals walang ginagawa. So you should be responsive to the needs of your teachers because you are there. May kadugtong yan. Principal, teacher. Yun nga, tinatawag kayo na principal, may kadugtong. Principal, teacher. You are still teachers even until this time. So you exist in your schools to support your teachers. I heard that merong mga principals, district supervisors requiring their teachers to make summative tests. In no case you will require your teachers to do that because we will still have a session on assessment. Tapos ang focus natin sa assessment is on portfolio. For example, dugtungan ko yung sinabi na for example, ang lesson ay poetry. Maybe if I were the teacher, I could just request the the students or the pupils to draw or to make a sketch out from their understanding of the poem introduced. So mag-draw yung estudyante. It is already a portfolio. It is already an output. So all I have to do as a teacher, I would use rubrics, yung scoring guide, na kailan makatanggap ng 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Scoring guide yan. So kung ako yung principal ngayon, yon ang ipapahanda ko sa mga teachers, ang rubrics. Hindi yung summative test because hindi pa yan kailangan. Tapos shading pa daw. How could you expect the pupils to do it honestly na nandun yung mga parents so useless yung shading na yan kasi andun yung mga parents na pwede nilang turuan yung mga bata. Whereas if it is project-based, if it is portfolio, bahala na doon kung tutulungan, basta yung bata ang gagawa. For example, math. Ano yung mga portfolio sa math? PLA. Oh, so when the teachers visit the houses, yun ang ano nila, titingnan nila kung nagluluto ba doon, kung anong mga ginagawa doon, naggumagawa ba ng mga recipe. So yung recipe there is the portfolio na pagdating ng teacher, yun ang i-assess niya using rubrics. Ganyan. So kung ako din yung principal, I would love to look for rubrics in support of my teachers. Ganyan ang trabaho ng isang principal. I was once like you. And there is no module writing to happen in other schools kasi nahihirapan pa nga yung mga writers ng modules. How much more for the teachers who don't have special training on modules? Principals, wag nating pahihirapan yung mga teachers kasi hinahanda na yung mga teachers natin because they will be the ones to hop from one house to another. One teacher in one division nag-chat sa akin. Sabi niya, "Sir, ang teacher ba talaga ang mag-distribute ng mga modules, mga learners materials sa mga bahay? Hindi kaya pwedeng kausapin natin yung barangay captain at barangay officials?" Hulaan niyo kung anong sagot ko. Ang sagot ko sa kanya, trabaho kaya yon ng barangay captain? Trabaho kaya yon ng mga barangay officials, yung mga tanod, to distribute? Ano kayang gusto ng mga teachers natin? Will they just stay in their houses waiting for the salary? Kasi ang nangyayari, ang teachers talaga ang mag-distribute. That's why in the last MANCOM meeting namin, ang secretary, yung nag-attend, undersecretaries, it was loud and clear. I really requested the secretary to provide traveling allowance, load allowance sa mga teachers natin at mag-provide tayo ng personal protective equipment ng mga teachers. Baka mahawaan sila when they hop from one house to another. So ganyan sana muna nating gagawin natin. So ang mga principals, wag sana nating papuntahin yung mga teachers natin sa mga barangays ngayon kasi but kung if the principal has provided with PPEs sa mga teachers, sige, pwede silang magpunta doon na kung anong gagawin nila doon with your advice, no? So ganyan ang gagawin natin mga principals na iko-control talaga natin, no? Because you are the warriors, you are the captains in your respective schools. Dapat i-monitor natin 'yan. Okay? Next slide. Next slide. Ito yung sample na budget of lessons na ginawa ni Dr. Chudorico Pelinio na English 5 na andun yan, mga dates. So ito, picturean niyo mga school heads. Ito ang i-require niyo sa mga teachers. But even if meron na tayong modules, itong budget of lessons will stay. I will still issue a memorandum na ito talaga because this will replace the lesson plans. Hindi na natin i-require yung mga teachers to make lesson plans kasi useless na. Bakit pa sila mag-lesson plan na wala namang classroom interaction? Okay? So ganyan. So ito, pwede din itong ibigay ng mga estudyante natin that while they are in their respective houses, meron sila ding budget of lessons. So kung ako yung estudyante, yun ang guide ko. Sa August 24, yun ang gagawin ko. August 25, yun ang gagawin ko. August 26, and so on. Parang guide. So this can be reproduced using the school MOOE. I'd like to emphasize the use of the MOOE. Kasi ang mga principals, meron kayong MOOE from April, May, June. I know na downloaded na yan sa mga school division superintendents. Andyan yung mga pera sa inyo. And loud and clear sa Mancom, I have been requesting our secretary to immediately download the funds because I know your challenges at the school level. Gusto kong may pera kayo. Pero kung meron kayong pera, sana gamitin niyo sa wastong pamamaraan. Because if I could hear a principal misusing the MOOE, I will really look into that. Kasi pagod na ako sa kakahingi ng pera sa central office. Loud and clear ko yan na dapat i-download na yung mga pera. We operate within our limitations in DepEd, so we might as well use the MOOE properly. Because I heard na mayroong mga principals na nagpa-reproduce na using the money of the teachers na sige, i-reproduce niyo lang yan. Tapos i-refund ko. Tapos kakalimutan na lang, pagalitan na lang yung teacher para hindi ma-refund. Yun ang mga laro ng ibang principals. I hope it is not happening in your respective schools. We take care of our teachers. They are your wind beneath your wings. Okay? So yan ang sample ng ano. Anong next slide dyan, Chud? Yun. Yung mga topics should ipakita natin, Nova, seminar, yung mga webinars natin.
Next slide from Nova.
Ayan. These are the topics. All the school heads are part of these virtual learning sessions. Navigating the new normal, navigating the virtual world in the new normal. You will prepare yourselves how to teach your teachers how to handle psychosocial interventions and psychological first aid. Kasi bawal yun na pagbukas ng pasukan sa August 24, immediately worksheets na. No, you will still unload the emotions, the anxiety, the fears of your pupils and students. Kung paano gagawin yan, yan ang challenge ng isang principal. Kasi andyan naman kayo, mga Master of Education, mga Doctor of Education, gamitin nyo yan yung mga degrees nyo, how to cascade that to your teachers. Kasi all of you are part of the training, you are expected to teach your teachers how to handle psychosocial interventions and psychological first aid. Managing distance learning, beginning reading in distance learning, ituturo pa yan. Early language literacy and numeracy in distance learning. Assessment with focus on portfolio and project-based. May speakers na tayo dyan. Orientation of parents on their role in distance learning. Supervision, o pag-uusapan pa natin yan. Progress, monitoring, and evaluation. At the regional level, we have now on the process of validating our monitoring tools. Kasi we want to monitor the chiefs at the division, the education program supervisors will monitor them, and the school heads kung ano yung roles. So ganyan, nilalatag ko lahat. That is the new normal in the Department of Education Region 8. At sana ang mga school heads ng Northern Samar, Calbayog City, and Catbalogan City, and some school heads of Leyte in attendance today will journey with me na ito na talaga, hawak kamay tayo kasi we always claim that Region 8 is always great no matter what. If I could hear mga reklamo from the principals na hindi kaya, mareklamo po sa Facebook, I will really look for you because i-advise na lang kita na mag-retire ka na lang kasi maraming interesado sa mga positions niyo. Pero with your participation today, it's a manifestation that the school heads of Northern Samar, Calbayog City, Catbalogan City, and some of the school heads in Leyte are journeying with me. And I hope to visit you starting July 20. My Team A at Team B. I will take charge of Team A. We will go to Samar Island. I will with a group. And ARD Balani will go to Leyte and Biliran Island. So I will see some of you August 20, schedule ko Northern Samar. So I will ask you about your OOE utilization. I will ask some of the teachers. I will rub elbows with the division officials to see how ready we are despite our limitations. Alam ko, DepEd cannot provide you with everything. But with you in the school level, na mayroong utak, mayroong character, competence, courage, and compassion, we will emerge winners. During your land, kita na kayo na you are so ipagpatuloy natin yung pagiging resilient natin sa panahon na ito. Journey with me as we always claim that Region 8 is always great. The real battle in this pandemic does not happen at the central office, nor at the regional office, even at the division office. But the real battle will happen in your respective schools. So kailangan ko ng mga principals na may character. Huwag niyo i-maltreat yung mga teachers because they are the wind beneath your wings. Take care of them, nurture them because if kung anong mangyayari sa kanila, kung anong mga achievements sa kanila, it will go back to you as the principal. Again, Region 8 is always great, and I am happy that you are in attendance today. This topic is very important, managing distance learning, how to manage the schools in this distance learning modality. And I have invited a very competent speaker, and she has been my mentor. If I say has been, from that time until now, our resource speaker has been my mentor. When I was still at Cebu Province Division, when I applied as Education Program Supervisor, she was the chair of the Personnel Selection Board. Siguro, nag-rankwa naman ako, siguro magaling ako noon. So she was instrumental to what I have become now. So listen to her because we can still invite our speaker in the morrows to come because we still have to equip you with all the needed trainings, skills, attitude, mga ganyan. Kailangan pa nating i-prepare for this new normal. Okay, so sana wag mo nang kakain, wag mo nang magpapaligo dyan sa mga bata. Be attentive because we will have a very engaging sharing now with our speaker who is direct from New York City. Siguro tayo lang ang nag-iisang region na may speaker na imported. No? So Region 8 is always great. We should always claim that. Thank you, and I hope you have been inspired by my message today. Patuloy lang, always smile, and let us always claim that Region 8 is always great. Good morning.
Thank you, sir. Once again, our Regional Director, Dr. Amir B. Oitico. Before we go further, may I remind everyone that your active participation is important throughout the session. At the moment, we are requesting everyone to mute your microphones and turn off your video to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening actively to the webinar. Rest assured that we will be entertaining your questions at the end of the presentation. You can enter your questions via the chat window. Likewise, if you would rather ask in person, you may click the raise hand icon and someone on staff will unmute your line so that you can readily ask a question. We would also like to acknowledge, as mentioned by Dr. Aitico, the virtual participation via Facebook of our school leaders from Leyte Division, Welcome to this learning session. At the moment, we are joined by 258 viewers in Facebook, plus 300 um, participants via Zoom. So once again, your participation can still be accounted by visiting the attendance and end of training evaluation using the links. And now we can finally begin. Our webinar today is about managing distance learning modality. Our resource speaker is an aftersought and renowned educator and lecturer in the Philippines and in the United States. She was a professor at Cebu Normal University, Dean of Graduate School, and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Divine Word College of Lawag, Assistant Schools Division Superintendent of DepEd Cebu Province. She holds a CESO 6 rank. She is an education administrator for in the New York City Department of Education's Division of Specialized Instruction and Student Support. As an education practitioner and instruction leader, she very well can share a wealth of current trends and updates in education, special education, and educational leadership. She is the founder and CEO of Pathways Education Consultancy. She is a trailblazer in the academy, a hardcore educator whose experience and expertise have paved the way for global engagement in the field of education. A multi awarded educator, she is known for her transformative leadership skills and for her intense belief that a true leader helps those doing poorly to do well and helps those doing well to do better. Colleagues in education, friends, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our resource person on managing distance learning, Dr. Narisa Lainel Joy Tago Kalob.
Thank you, Chad, and for your stamina in pronouncing my very long name. And of course, allow me then. Am I on spotlight now? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, this is a conversation all the way from New York City. It's already 11:13, almost midnight. We are on the same time frame, but different time zones. You are daytime there, I am nighttime. However, I know you will be challenged when it comes to audio faculties. So I made sure that in my presentation, we have, I have embedded 75% of my lecture in each of the slides. So just go through with me, and if in case you lose your sounds or your audio, then just read what's in the slides, because everything that the major points are there. And even in the videos are not only audio and video, but you could also see something written there. And remember, in learning, to see something, to hear something would be great. How I wish that we could touch on something. So allow me then to share my screen.
It is time for a new normal.
This professional development opportunity on managing distance learning brings us to the fact that the terms management and leadership are often used interchangeably. Without deviating from the title of this professional engagement, and lest I may be misunderstood, the words leaders or leadership are what I will often use. I am intentionally focusing on those big words because leading is the most crucial aspect of managing an organization. Let's have a quick review of the differences between leaders and managers. In the new normal, we are all in this journey. Which way do we need to take in the new normal? Quo vadis? When the pandemic shuttered schools around the world, education leaders had to build the plane while trying to fly it. And until this time, we are still building the plane while trying to fly it. The expression building the plane as you fly has become increasingly familiar across education. It captures the feelings of risk and uncertainty that accompany designing innovations and testing them in real time with actual participants, all while being responsible for keeping existing operations running. It reflects the idea that you know you need to try build something different, even as you still have students on board who enter your doors every day in need of a range of services. Our agenda: schools are responsible to turn over to society graduates who have the required skills to become the kind of movers and leaders humanity needs. Educators and workforce experts alike warn that our youth need the foundational skills of literacy and numeracy and improved 21st century skills. Without these skills, they will not be able to successfully participate in the global economy. They won't be adequately prepared for college and work. Let us have a quick review of Maslow's and Bloom's schools of thought. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a motivational theory in psychology, comprising a 5-tier model of human needs, often depicted as hierarchical levels within a pyramid. From the bottom of the hierarchy and upwards, the needs are physiological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. On the other hand, Bloom's taxonomy is a set of hierarchical models used to classify learning objectives into levels of complexity and specificity. They cover learning objectives in cognitive, affective, and sensory domains. This is just a side note, but very important. There is a greater awareness that the Maslow before Bloom principle extends to everyone in the school community. We all know that before students can learn in an academic setting, their basic needs must be met. They must have full stomachs, have a full night of sleep, feel safe, and have a feeling that they belong. Maslow's motivational theory purports that what pushes our students to do what they need to do and behave the way that they behave is a desire to fulfill basic needs. Like anyone else, students and educators need to. First we Maslow, then we Bloom. In the not so new normal among us, a lot of us have unconsciously added 2 levels of personal needs in Maslow's. It seems that people cannot operate anymore when there is no battery for gadgets and when there is no internet or Wi-Fi connection to access the World Wide Web. Personally and professionally, I am in need of those 2 24/7.
On numeracy.
Numeracy, everyday maths as it's sometimes called. Being able to understand and work with numbers is incredibly important. It's about having the confidence and skill to use numbers and mathematical approaches in all aspects of life. Experts say good numeracy provides protection against unemployment, low wages and poor health. And guess what? While there's no such thing as a numeracy gene, with the right amount of effort and a positive attitude, everyone can get better and feel more confident with numbers. And as a Prince's Trust programme leader or volunteer, you're in a unique position to help young people learn how. Less long faces, more long division. Here's a few suggestions. Make it relevant. OK, so we don't all use algebra on a daily basis, but it's important to show how numeracy is essential in life and in the workplace. Provide practical examples. Ask young people to think about how a mechanic, a doctor, or a builder might use numbers in their work. Remind your mentees that they're already using numbers in some way every day and encourage them to work out the basics in the context of their Prince's Trust programmes, their career ambitions, or their hobbies. Practical science, technology, and engineering-based activities can be an excellent and integrated way to use everyday math skills to solve real-world problems. Get creative and get making. Once young people grasp the basics, confidence soars. No room for negativity. Some young people may have a negative attitude towards maths, usually down to bad experiences in the past or maths anxiety, aka fear of maths. Always be positive about it. If they're having an "I can't do it" moment, stress that you can't do it yet. There's no excuse for a can't do attitude, and it's okay to make mistakes. After all, mistakes make our brains grow. That's a research-proven fact. Go at the right pace. Some people think being good at numeracy is about being fast. It doesn't have to be. Make sure the young people you're with know it's okay to be slow and think deeply. Encourage them to talk about their thinking, not simply write it down. The learning experience is valuable. It's not just about getting the right answer. Maths is a form of communication. Help them use it at their own pace. Welcome any questions. Asking questions is really good for learning in numeracy. Too often, young people are afraid to ask questions for fear of looking clueless. When they have difficulties with a mathematical situation, encourage them to ask about the situation rather than simply seeking an answer. A problem shared is a problem solved. Discuss calculations and problem solve together in a reassuring way. Even when young people get the right answer, ask them to explain why it is right. Share your tips and suggestions. Use visual aids to reinforce learning. You could display a measures poster in the kitchen to show the difference between grams, kilograms, millilitres and litres. Or share tips. A centimetre is about the width of your finger. A metre is about a pace long. Where appropriate, you can also make use of practical equipment like calculators, rulers, multiplication squares or number lines. Whatever works best for them. Numeracy. It really does count. Explore more videos like this online.
On literacy.
Literacy is essential to building a strong foundation for student success across all subject areas and establishing a lifelong love of learning. Curriculum program creators are working together with school literacy leaders to enhance action plans to help ensure that literacy is for life. There are 7 literacy curriculum attributes top districts use to transform pre-K-12 literacy education. These 7 R's help empower teachers, boost literacy outcomes, and prepare students for college and careers. Reach to address all learners. Reach all students right where they are and progress them to higher levels of achievement with high-impact literacy curricula, encompassing core instruction, intensive intervention, and supplemental acceleration options. Relevance upholds instructional individualization. Develop personalized learning pathways for each student based on their individual needs by varying content, timing, and degree of instructional support. Results are gained via evidence-based approaches. Choose evidence-based instructional methods to help catalyze the aha moments that power results and prepare students for high-stakes tests, future schooling, and the workplace. Responsive tools and platforms drive achievement. Facilitate personalized instruction with adaptive digital learning platforms which provide deep insight into each student's progress and address learning gaps. Real-time assessment and monitoring speeds proficiency. Curriculum-aligned real-time assessment programs monitor progress and inform instruction with every click, helping teachers facilitate each student's mastery of learning objectives. Reflective practices integrate literacy in all content areas. Content literacy strategies promote reading, writing, and discussion both horizontally across grade levels and vertically across subjects. Ready teachers optimize student success. Build professional capacity in all teachers for literacy instruction through professional development using job-embedded, collaborative, and online training. You became an educator to improve children's lives, a process that begins with literacy. Utilizing these 7 attributes in your literacy curriculum plan will enable you to reach all learners, instruct with intent, and engage and inspire. Our shared commitment and expertise can transform all students into the skilled readers, writers, and thinkers of the 21st century. Together, we can ensure that literacy is for life. To dive deeper into the 7 R's and learn more about creating a highly literate citizenry, please visit mheonline.com/7Rs to get the ebook.
On 21st Century Skills. Let's sort out the realities that have surfaced in this most challenging time of humanity's history to reach an informed decision.
By the educational front lines in every corner of the world. No child left behind. Every student succeeds. Race to the top. Child first. One for children. Educate the whole child, where children come first. Regardless of the names policymakers put behind education initiatives over the years, the outcomes have been the same. A lot of children are left behind. There are students who do not succeed. They actually lack a legitimate opportunity to do so.
And when it comes to the educational equity race, the ever elusive finish line makes it feel like we are not on a racetrack, but on a gym's treadmill. The coronavirus pandemic is revealing new layers of inequity that may end up setting us back even further. Education leaders are tackling the unexpected challenge of providing distance learning as a primary mode of instruction for weeks, months, and possibly in the years to come. National assessments, and many countries likely to follow, there is a real question of what the purpose of distance learning should be. In normal circumstances, students would know if they were doing good in schools based on their in-class tests and report card grades. Standardized test results and internal benchmarks schools use to measure their academic progress. These are not normal circumstances. Some working families are managing the double whammy of figuring out how to work remotely and how to be brand new homeschool parents. Some families are economically impacted by the coronavirus pandemic and are rightfully prioritizing their financial survival. Leaders should accept the reality that digitized math worksheets are probably not a priority for all students. But it is still important to have a clear definition of what successful distance learning should look like. To define success, presume that every single student has the necessary materials, technology, time, motivation, and support to participate in distance learning. Then consider how success would be measured if standardized exams did not exist. When school leaders are asked to use a magic wand to reimagine education, Their most popular answer aligns closely with what success would look like in today's digital context. Giving every child their own independent learning goals and equipping them the tools and resources they need to meet those goals. Schools today have no shortage of data showing how children are achieving academically. Students' most recent data would therefore be an important piece of setting academic goals for distance learning. Teachers working to help students achieve their goals may struggle in the distance learning environment. But the shared reality of the in-person and the distance learning context is that teaching is much less important than focusing on whether and how students are learning. There are countless edtech apps that can help educators gather this information in a distance learning environment. The greatest app of all, the Human One. Teachers providing one-on-one assistance to students who need help in live or asynchronous settings. Distance learning has the strategic advantage of making it easier in some cases for teachers to pinpoint specific academic struggles. There is also no longer a need to limit success to the metrics available in standardized exams. Can your distance learning platform allow for collaboration that helps you measure the extent to which students are learning to communicate, listen to understand, speak to be understood, and disagree without being disagreeable? Can it create opportunities for students to be the change they've been waiting for, creating solutions to real-world challenges that have an impact today? Can you track how students are getting a head start on adulting by learning to do household tasks? From a school-wide accountability standpoint, school success can also go beyond normal student achievement metrics. Schools are now getting a much clearer picture of how our students' families can play a greater hands-on role in their children's academic success. How do you make distance learning accessible and equitable for all students? The presumption of every single student having the necessary technology, time, motivation, and support to participate in distance learning is simply not real life. Rural and low-income communities have limited or no access to broadband internet connection than their urban, suburban, and more affluent counterparts. But what if governments and education leaders have the power to close this gap? What would it take to ensure that 100% of students have access to distance learning? Maintaining internet connectivity is important enough of a priority for leaders to create more formal, long-term versions of these public-private partnerships to extend well beyond the current crisis we are in. Getting devices in the hands of every K-12 student may be more challenging. But with some districts across the world increasingly moving towards providing a device for each child, the prospect of ensuring every child has a device at home is far from impossible. Equity is a lot harder than access. Achieving equity in distance learning requires leaders to focus on student populations who often already have reduced opportunities for academic success in a traditional in-person education model. Current models have struggled to effectively serve students with special needs, students who are academically behind their peers, and students living in poverty. But no one suggests that we simply stop teaching these students just because we are not doing it well enough for students to succeed. Distance learning can be delivered equitably in a way that goes beyond every child receiving nothing at all. Schools have been directed to make every effort to provide instruction according to a child's strengths and needs. It has also been noted that exceptional circumstances can affect how schools provide services. Schools looking to figure this out should work closely with the families of students to modify instructional delivery vis-a-vis the realities and challenges of distance learning. Another equity issue is that parents may not be able to help children with their schoolwork at home. This presents another crucial challenge, especially for students in primary elementary grades. Consider how the job responsibilities of staff members can be modified to meet this need. Reallocate resources to ensure someone is able to communicate, train, and support parents who need to supervise and monitor their children in the distance learning environment. Ensure that personnel are available to assist parents. They need to talk to parents to figure out the best ways to support them in this. There is no exhaustive how-to list for equity because equity work is never quite finished. The key to providing equitable distance learning opportunities for all students is to recognize what this looks like for each student's unique situation. This transition from all children to each child is probably a heavier lift than the shift to distance learning. But by recognizing equity as an overarching aspect of every decision school leaders are making as part of this transition, valuable lessons will be learned that will help schools serve students more effectively in the new distance learning environment.
Let us compare and contrast equality, equity, and justice. Equality. The assumption is that everyone benefits from the same supports. This is equal treatment. Equity. Everyone gets the supports they need. This is the concept of affirmative action, thus producing equity. Justice. All three can see the game without supports or accommodations because the cause of the inequity was addressed. The systemic barrier has been removed. The big question is, what have you been advocating for in educating all of your students?
Sound similar, so aren't they the same? No, in fact, they're really different concepts, even though a lot of us get the two confused. So let's break them down. You probably already know what we mean when we say equality. We're talking about two things that are the same or have a similar value. When we treat two people or two groups of people equally, we make sure that they have or get the same things. For example, if I want to give Betty some apples, then I need to give Ben the same number of apples to treat them with equality. Along the same lines, if I want to give the nursing program a budget increase, then I need to make sure that I give the culinary arts program the same budget increase to treat them with equality. That makes sense. But that's not the same thing as equity. Equity can be defined as giving everyone what they need to be successful. In other words, it's not giving everyone the exact same thing. And here's where the difference between equity and equality really come in, because it's important to remember that if we give everyone the exact same thing, expecting that we'll make people equal, it assumes that everyone started out in the same place. So here's an example. In this instance, we give everyone the exact same box, we treat them with equality, so that they can see over the fence. Well, that's great for the person on the left because they were already taller, but it's not so great for the person on the right who still can't see over the fence. From an equity perspective, we wouldn't want everyone to have the same size box because everyone isn't the same height to start out with. With an equity mindset, we would get everyone what they need to raise them up to the same level. Here's another example. With equality in mind, we can treat everyone the same and give them all the same bike, but that doesn't really help the person on the left who can't ride that kind of bike, or the person in the middle that is too small for that bike. So when we think about this situation with equity in mind, equity tells us that we need to give everybody a different kind of bike so they can all enjoy a bike ride. As you might guess, this is where the concept of fairness gets tricky for some folks. We often think that being fair means that everybody gets the same thing, and that's what we were taught when we were growing up. But fairness really only works when we're all the same to start out with. So this is a new idea for many of us to think about. There is this great American saying that people just need to work hard enough and pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. It's this idea that everyone can be successful if you just work hard enough. Well, that's a lot easier to do when some of us were born with longer arms to pull up those bootstraps, or maybe we were given longer bootstraps when we bought our boots. So let's think about moving away from the bootstrap idea and instead think about shoes. There is a quote by Naheed Dasani that goes, "Equality is giving everyone a shoe, but equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits."
Merriam-Webster's definitions of re-engineer are to engineer again or anew, redesign, to reorganize the operations of an organization so as to improve efficiency, the term re-engineering was coined by Michael Hammer, a former Massachusetts Institute of Technology computer service professor. In his book, Re-Engineering the Corporation, Hammer defined the word as the fundamental rethinking and radical redesigning of content and processes to bring about dramatic improvements in performance. What in education do we need to re-engineer when the threat of COVID-19 still lingers? How about the kind of re-engineering we need in education in the new normal? In the new normal, to redesign or reorganize the current educational systems and structure with focus on the school community's mental models and the teaching learning delivery.
My personal take: the heart of education is core instruction. which is anchored on a research-based core curriculum delivered with fidelity. The curriculum must be taught by skilled and trained teachers for the designated amount of time so that at least 80% of students are at benchmark on curriculum-based measures and aren't in need of interventions. The core goal of education is to help students get to the next level and succeed. How? It is teaching students to learn how to learn, otherwise known as metacognition. Today, I am sharing with you 2 videos on metacognition.
We know that metacognition is vital for learning. It's what happens when we analyze tasks, set up goals, implement strategies, and reflect on what we're learning. But how does metacognition actually work? Well, the authors of How Learning Works describe it as a cycle. It starts with the ability to assess the task at hand. Here, students have a clear picture of what they need to accomplish. And next, they evaluate their own strengths and weaknesses. Afterward, the students plan out their approach. Note that it does not have to be a detailed plan. In some cases, students might visualize what they need to accomplish and how they will get there. Students then take action and apply the strategies and monitor their progress, which leads to the next phase where they reflect on their learning and adjust their approach. Here they might determine new strategies that ultimately lead back to a reassessment of the task. This cycle can happen rapidly or over a long stretch of time. In some cases, it can feel so automatic it almost seems invisible. And yet, it is vital for learning. When students have strong metacognition skills, they are more likely to succeed in college, in their careers, and in lifelong learning.
When lessons are planned, it is not only about the grade level curriculum and standards, because there is also a need to consider the students' learning styles to better inform instructional planning and delivery. It is incumbent for teachers to ask themselves if their student is a visual or spatial learner. The child prefers using pictures, images, and learns by observing and watching. Oral or auditory musical learner. The child prefers using sound and music and learns by listening and hearing lectures. Verbal or linguistic learner. The child prefers using words in both speech and writing and loves role playing. Solitary or intrapersonal learner. The child prefers to learn and work alone and shows independent play. Social or interpersonal learner. The child prefers to learn within a group and is usually a good communicator. Logical or mathematical learner. The child prefers using reason, logic, and recognizes patterns easily. Physical or kinesthetic learner. The child prefers using the body, hands, and sense of touch to learn. In the new normal, the Philippines Department of Education's clarion call is education must continue. Tulong-tulong para tuloy ang edukasyon. One of Merriam-Webster's definitions of algorithm is a step-by-step procedure for solving a problem or accomplishing some end. William H. Huggins said, "Sometimes you solve a problem by coming up with an algorithm of some kind, but sometimes you solve a problem in a very ad hoc sort of way." And talking about algorithms, the Department of Education issued this algorithm for learning delivery modalities to provide a step-by-step procedure or guidance to better explain to the school community, particularly the parents, on how the education of our students will continue in the new normal. Undertaking an in-depth inquiry on geography, logistics, and home environment will help school leaders decide on how to deliver instruction and monitor their students' learning. The possible learning delivery modalities are face-to-face learning, blended learning, online synchronous distance learning, online asynchronous distance learning, digital offline modular distance learning, home-based educational TV or radio-based instruction plus print distance learning, home-based print modular distance learning, or homeschooling. It could be a standalone or it could be a mix or a combination of any of the learning delivery modalities.
The challenge is real. Distance learning during COVID-19, continuing education in low-tech and low-resource environments.
Based on the results of a survey, it is obvious that the respondents are very concerned regarding the safety of their children in the midst of this pandemic. Most respondents prefer the modular distance learning modality, followed by online learning and a combination of face-to-face learning with other modalities. The use of TV and radio were also considered. The results may not be conclusive because we are not aware of the respondent's profile. Yet we can assume that the modular learning modality is the most preferred teaching learning method. Whatever is the distance learning modality a school will utilize, there is a need to take into consideration the framework or roadmap for 21st century learning. These 21st century skills are more important to students now than ever before. They not only provide a framework for successful learning, but ensure students can thrive in a world where change is constant and learning never stops. and they are also tremendously important for a nation's well-being.
Let us revisit the legal mandates on contextualization. Section 5 of Republic Act 10533, or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, states that the K-12 curriculum shall be learner-centered, inclusive, and developmentally appropriate, relevant, responsive, research-based, culture-sensitive, contextualized, global, and flexible enough to allow schools to localize, indigenize, and enhance the same based on their respective educational and social contexts. K-12 teachers are allowed to use contextualization strategies in their lessons.
How do we contextualize instruction? It is a matter of localization of the content, the indigenization of the curriculum framework, curriculum design, curriculum standards, learning resources, and teaching learning processes. All of these will be anchored on the biogeographical, historical, socio-cultural facets of a community, and of course, through local information and local materials. How do we contextualize teaching and learning? We have to ensure that the education process must relate the curriculum to a particular setting, situation, or area of application to make the competencies relevant, meaningful, and useful to the learners. To achieve the desired contextualized learning outcome, students must be provided with contextualized learning activities, and side by side with those, feedback and assessment should also be provided. We don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we face challenges. Decision-making is critical on the educational front lines. We all know one size does not fit all. An education leader is expected to know the encompassing reality of all stakeholders and their environments, particularly the students, to be able to make an informed decision.
More than ever, school communities must be on the same page, in line with their vision, skills, and goals, to establish a team geared for success.
For an educational team to be successful, we try to leverage from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. For a fixed mindset, one's thought processes are: failure is the limit of my abilities. I'm either good at it or I'm not. My abilities are unchanging. I don't like to be challenged. I can either do it or I can't. My potential is predetermined. When I'm frustrated, I give up. Feedback and criticism are personal. I stick to what I know. For a growth mindset, the mental model is: failure is an opportunity to grow. I can learn to do anything I want. Challenges help me to grow. My effort and attitude determine my abilities. Feedback is constructive. I am inspired by the success of others. I like to try new things.
You're the leader. It's on you. You didn't pick leadership, it picked you. You're called for this. Break out of your shell. You have what it takes. You were born with it. It's in you. A seed. Water it. Embrace it. Invest in your success. Study leadership. Read books, watch videos, listen to podcasts. Create your leadership brand. Then live that brand every day. Make a massively positive impact on your team. Love your team. Pour into your team. Lead them. They don't want a manager, they want a leader, a heroic figure, a role model. Be that. Build a championship team. See the potential in every person. Pull it out of them. Coach them. Inspire them. Teach them. Demand excellence from them. And all along the way, be the example. You set the tone. You cast the vision. You bring the attitude, effort, and energy. So start moving. No regrets. They will follow you. Make the culture your number one priority. It's your performance environment. It's what provides the energy and passion needed to fulfill your plan and achieve your mission, to make your vision a reality. If you invest in the culture, the performance will follow. Championship leaders build championship teams that drive championship performance. Focus on the culture and execution of your team in order to capture the dream. You're the leader. It's on you.
Based on the algorithm, how will you deliver distance learning in your area of responsibility?
As a school leader, one needs to wear the correct thinking hat all the time. One's creativity needs to be activated too. Being sensitive to realities and addressing them based on what is possible and available will allow education to continue. The nagging question now is, what is the possible and available learning delivery modality a school will be able to utilize for education to continue in the new normal? Digital online learning is any form of learning conducted partly or wholly over the internet, utilizing online learning platforms or This can be amplified with a number of variations teachers and schools can consider. Because there are so many different models for distance learning, it is important to think about the exact needs and goals of each learner and teacher in selecting a particular learning modality. Different models are better suited to different students, circumstances, and resources. Identifying the best model for the situation requires taking all important factors into account.
Adversity. So expect the unexpected, and when it hits, hold your head up. Don't look back. Forward march. You'll be surprised at how much strength you have.
I know it's already a good afternoon in the Philippines, and it's already a good morning. It's very early morning here in New York City. So we're now at checkpoint. When Dr. Itico and myself were together at the province of Cebu division, we always made it a point to really have a checkpoint to see if the participants of the professional development opportunity have takeaways, so have learnings to bring to the respective stations, to eco or to turnkey, so that information will cascade from your end to the staff members. But before we move on, as an adjunct commentary to what Regional Director Itico said earlier, as he is strongly pushing for the utilization and implementation of the simplified MELC-based budget of lessons instead of detailed lesson plans, you as school leaders, and when teachers are to articulate their lessons, they only need their budget of lessons, or what we call here in America as a course or subject pacing guide. Teachers must include activity sheets, worksheets, ebooks, supplemental or support materials. Region 8's distance learning modality of choice is MELC-based modules. This will be supported or supplemented by radio-based instruction or TV-based instruction or online learning if they are available and possible. I just provided a review of some foundational education principles on literacy, numeracy, 21st century skills, metacognition, contextualization, and most of all, equity. I believe that the new normal does not mean that we have to forget those educational principles to be captured in the teacher's budget of lessons, which was called a block plan how many decades ago. Another critical point I want to stress is about assessment. I'd like again to echo Director Itico's call that please no summative tests this time. If you want to really measure learning, it is strongly recommended that you can go the route of portfolios, project-based learning with the use of rubrics, scoring guide, or criteria. As school leaders, you can take the lead in the creation and organization of a site, either online or offline, where you have resources available for your teachers to access and use. Online, and that means if you're using Dropbox or Microsoft Teams, or just saving it in a flash drive or in the laptop, or you could just print them out, have hard copies and put it in a binder. You can have these resources live in those sites. As school leaders, as principal teachers, you are required to provide technical support. This can also be replicated by the different master teachers or grade level leaders. And another thing is, if I mentioned earlier that we are all building the plane while we are flying it, I could also refer you to something. All of us are familiar with vehicles or transportation, a car or a van, and we know that there are spare tires available. It could be already stored in the car or somewhere else. Take note, we are running on one of our spare tires we pulled from the trunk of our vehicles. We hope that this spare tire will allow us to continue educating our students, even if it is a bit bumpy. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, as school heads, you're the most indispensable instructional leaders in the education front lines. You are the very key for Philippine education to continue in the new normal. This is not yet the end of the share out. Again, thank you all the way from New York City. to the men and women of the Department of Education, Regional Office 8, my very good friend, Regional Director Ramir Biartico, HRDD Chief Harvey D. Villamor, CLMD Chief Rosemary M. Gino, EPS Chudorico Pelino. Chud, thank you so much for moderating. And of course, the other very competent men and women of the Curriculum and Learning Management Division and new participants. Thank you for having time with me today. Just a reminder again, education is not the answer to questions. Education is the means to answer all questions. I am showing you a picture of wild berries. This may not be familiar in the Philippines, or if so, you could find them in the chillers in groceries. But this is very common for us here in America. This is wild, but this is also very good as oxidants. I just want to inform you that in this kind of berry, it has thorns. And just like these berries, our lives also have thorns. For all of us, the COVID-19 pandemic is a common thorn. It is bringing us to a new normal. And the new normal. In the chat section, please share a berry in your current situation as an educational stakeholder, as an education frontliner, as a school leader, as an education administrator here in New York City, Department of Education. My berry is living in the world's epicenter for the pandemic in April and May. I can say I am so grateful for my health and my health of the family. I'm also grateful for the work and the job that I have because I get my paycheck every payday. And thinking that I get a paycheck every payday while others lost their jobs or others lost their livelihood, I always feel guilty that I don't have anything to do. I make it a point that I'm engaged in the work that I'm doing. Honestly, I have never complained because we are just but fortunate. And I hope you also share with me that point of view. So as in the chat section, please share a berry. We need to recognize the thorns and celebrate the berries in our lives. And one of my berries also is that I am able to touch lives. I may not be able to touch the lives of students because I'm not a school-based educational leader, but I'm able to touch lives of superintendents, of regional supervisors, of school building leaders, principals and APs, and teachers themselves. So what are your berries, or what is your berry? Type them in the chat section, and please mute your mics. Chad, start the ball rolling. I think we have school leaders or principals, school leaders coming from Samar. Some also are from Leyte and Northern Samar. So could you start typing in? Marita Isabel Managite said, good health, this is one of my berries. Yeah, very good. What else are your berries? Share it. Don't be ashamed. They need to be celebrated. Roslyn Galdone said, my berry is my positive navigation with stakeholders, which makes our school propel to the realities of our dream school amidst lack of resources. Yes, those resources that we are wanting are also our thorns. Even here in New York City, we don't have all the resources, but still, we have to do our work. We're paid for it. John, your mic is on. We could hear you. Leonard Esponilia, dealing with teachers and stakeholders with a heart are my berries. Yeah, it's my berries. Yeah, you're welcome, Jordan and Rex. So anybody more to discuss about your berries? Just share it with us. I hope you're not eating lunch. You're expected to be engaged in this professional development opportunity. I need to read some more of your berries. Romeo de Castante said to be positive amidst the health crisis. Joy Marquita Dugan said, my berries are my teachers who helped me deliver the mission and vision of DepEd. Antonio Mingotti Ludonio, I was moved by this topic. I realized how substantial our role as an instructional leader by this pandemic. Knowing every details of the place where we are serving would surely give an equitable service. Yeah, thank you. Joanne Ortiz, teaching is not just mere profession, but vocation. For me, my berry is the health and safety of our learners and families. Elena Kayat, you're enjoying your lunch already? Very good of you. Jaime Kabila, I really like this topic so much. My berries are my inspiration. Yeah. Amelia Paris, my very strong commitment with internal and external stakeholders. Very good. My berries are the persons that surround me and help me grow. Very good. My berries are my pupils. I love them. My berries in my journey, that was Rana. For this, Alma Sulayaw, my berries in my journey is the life being working in remote area. Yes, good luck and always stay safe and healthy. Norman Sagayap, my berries, my experience as a school leader. Irene Di Makiling, I had been an advocate for multiple intelligences, and I'm glad that it was included here. These are my berries. Yeah, and make use of those berries. That Renelle Lim, I appreciate this topic. My berries is to inspire pupils and the community. Bill Jane Avila, our school berries are our teachers and learners in the challenge on how we are going to re-engineer our core instruction in the hardest times. Okay, thank you very much. So the common denominator among the berries that we have are good health, working relationship with colleagues, with your teachers, and with people who provide support coming from higher offices. But again, as school leaders, you are the face. You are the very frontliners when it comes to education. So celebrate the berries. Make those thorns be a challenge. Be a lion, as I have invited you to become one. Have a purpose. Do not be afraid. Last question. As stakeholders, how are you leading or supporting your school community to be better prepared for the opening of classes in August? Once again, as stakeholders, how are you leading or supporting your school community to be better prepared for the opening of classes in August? I do hope that there is all of us, and I'm not talking about you, our teachers will also realize that they have so many berries to be grateful about. Not all workers in the Philippines and even here in America are afforded the chance to work from home, to get a salary every payday. A lot of people all over the world lost jobs. They don't know where to get their next meal, not only for themselves, but for the money, but for others in their family. So once again, I invite you to put in the chat section, how are you leading or supporting your school community to be better prepared for the opening of classes in August?
Okay, we have one response from Aylmer Arilon.
Irene McKilling said, I do have constant communication with them through different social media platforms. Very good. This is a way of being creative. If you remember in my presentation earlier, I made sure to emphasize that you should know the realities encompassing the lives of students, but also of your teachers and also the rest of the school community. If in case communication is a challenge, then use everything that is possible. Aylmer Arilon said, we have already conducted geotagging of our learners yesterday to track the modules delivered and the students at risk for dropping out. Very good. Geotagging is very important. This brings us back to my what I emphasized earlier, knowing the geography and the logistics of your learners and of your staff. My son Ibrida, to lead is to be prepared for this new modality of learning, and that includes the teaching force. Orona Impag, I'll be hiking regularly to my far-flung station just to make sure they are all okay. Yes, just be very careful. It's not only protecting our students from the virus, but it is also protecting ourselves. Again, I told you, let us all wear the correct thinking hats to make a decision, to make an informed decision, to be able to do an action that is required. Norman Sagayap said, helping them to understand the different modalities of a new normal. Yes, Mr. Richam Apollonio, I usually tap the stakeholders from time to time because as of now, we're still in the process of preparing all undertakings, especially that distance learning is new to them. And by the way, as a reminder, please don't forget that to cascade the information issued by Dr. Itico, stipulated in Regional Memo 321, and that's all about the MELC-based budget of learning. Janice Jose said, to be transparent and in constant communication in all school plans, projects, and activities. You are correct, Janice. Once the stakeholders, once your staff members, once your teachers and your parents are informed of everything, they will also have some kind of ownership of the decisions that are being made and then the actions that need to be done. The work that we do, and Dr. Itico knows that very well, when we were together, it's not I, it's not me, it's not mine. It is plural, first person, we, ours, us. Villa Jane Avila, one way of supporting the community is sharing through social media, Bandilio, word of mouth, where the processes of modular learning will be implemented. Nest Lady asks, by providing them all the necessary needs before the opening of classes, modules, and the like. And again, it's about leadership. The title of my presentation is Managing Distance Learning. Lest I may be misunderstood. why I have been using all over and over again the word lead, leadership, or leading. Take note. In the 4 aspects of management: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Leading is the most important part in management. You are the school managers, but much is expected of you as educational leaders. Romeo Castantes said, establish strong linkage to other stakeholders for better glory of our learners. It's a collective effort. Yes, you just echoed what I said. It's ours, it's us, it's we. Not me, my, mine. Okay, so that's about it. And we can now proceed. Chad, please take care.
All right. What an engaging virtual conversation we had in our chat box. I'm reading a lot of awesome feedback from our participants. Thank you very much, Dr. Caleb. We appreciate the feedback shared by our participants to the questions raised by our resource person. And I think that ends our session for today. I believe everything was clear to our participants. Just a few reminders to our participants. Please do not forget to key in your answers to the end of program evaluation by following the link shared in our chat window. Your inputs will be of great help in the improvement of the delivery of our training services. Also, don't forget to visit the attendance link so your participation can be accounted. And at this moment, may I request everyone to please turn your videos and your microphones on to show our virtual respect and
It's already a good morning on my end here, but I'm okay. I'm inspired.
Mute na.
Hello.
Very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you,
madam. Hello.
Collect lunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aloha na.
George, thank you, Dr. Gina. Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you po, ma'am. Thank you.
so much, ma'am.
From Northern Samar.
Palagon and
Section 6, Education Administrator.
Na station.